Jim will join us. And so I'd like to open our special meeting at 11:01 a.m. on Friday, the 29th of May. And I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All who can, please stand. And is there a veteran in the room who would like to kick us off?
I do them all the time.
There you go. All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mayor. All right. So we will open this special meeting. The roll call, please, Christy.
Yeah. Andrew Sampson.
Here.
Bobby Tucker.
Present.
Bill Lundquist.
Here.
Patrick McFall.
Yes.
Jim Thompson.
I imagine he'll be here eventually. All right, we do have quorum. So next I'll, I don't know, do we normally do the approval or amendment of the agenda? I guess, do we need to do a motion for that?
President Sampson,
Oh, yes.
legal counsel would like to request an amendment to the agenda. We would like to ask that item number 2, which currently states executive session if needed. We do have a need for an executive session today, so legal would like to request that that agenda item be amended to read executive session pursuant to CRS 246402B and E to receive legal advice and discuss matters subject to negotiation relating the proposed collective bargaining MOU.
All right, thank you. I will entertain a motion to change the item number 2 verbiage.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Paul.
Second.
All right, excellent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right. Thank you. The motion passes. Okay. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
All right. So, we will move.
Madam Chair,
Yes, are there additional changes? I apologize.
Madam Chair, I had a quick question.
Yes. Director.
What directors are in the room, ma'am?
Oh, all but just kidding. Director Thompson's walking in. Everyone but you.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay. Did you have any additional changes to the agenda today? Nope. All right. So without objection, we'll approve the agenda as amended. And we'll move into public comment. Do we have any public comment today? Small crowd? No? Last chance? No? All right. So we will move into our agenda item 1, consider legal conflict of interest disclosure letter related to contract drafting. Chief, do you have someone presenting that for us? Oh, and please have the record.
I'm happy to speak to it. This was a conflict of interest disclosure letter prepared by me and directed to the board of directors. I was asked by staff members from LFRA to assist in the preparation of an agreement related to some 1610 AM signage, which are your emergency notification signs that sit on some of the roadways. The agreement would be between LFRA, the City of Loveland, and the Lamar Emergency Telephone Association, which is LETA, and would spell out the various parties' roles and responsibilities as relate to the funding for sign maintenance and repair, and also the use of the signs. As our more seasoned board members know, but some of our new board members may not, my firm represents both LFRA and LETA. And so before we can undertake this work, we needed to approach both agencies to make sure that you are aware of that and to let you know that if the board still would like us to assist staff in the preparation of the agreement, our role will be strictly limited to that of a scrivener, meaning that we are committing to writing what both parties and the City of Loveland have already agreed to, but we cannot take a position of advocacy against either party. And in the event that the parties were to experience a conflict during the agreement drafting or subsequently, we would not represent either LFRA or LETA and instead would assist both agencies in obtaining other counsel. We've entered into we've made other disclosures with LFRA because you do have a lot of partners and we are very steeped in this industry, for example, with the Front Range Fire Consortium. You do not have to agree. If you would rather somebody else do this work and not us, my feelings absolutely won't be hurt, and that's well within your right. But I did want to bring this to the board for discussion and feedback before proceeding with any further work on the IGA.
Great, thank you, Emily. So before we put a motion on the floor, any discussion? Welcome, Director Thompson. No discussion on this?
Is there anything?
May I, Madam
Um,
Chair?
Director Bukowski, just one moment, please. Director Lundquist had a question.
Oh, sorry.
All right, and then I'll call on you.
He did raise his hand.
Director Lundquist.
Is there anything out of the ordinary about this agreement?
I don't know if Chief Carmesino's in the room or Chief Morawski wants to speak to it. The issue, as I understand it, is that two of the signs are damaged, and so they are non-functional at this time. The agreement actually used to only be between the City of Loveland and LFRA. It's been in existence for many years, but now two of the signs are broken. They can't be used, and neither the city nor LFRA has funding available to fix the signs. So the city and LFRA had approached LEDA to ask if LEDA might have funding available. LEDA indicated that yes, it may be able to fund the repair of the signs, but in exchange for funding the repair, it would want to have access to the signs as agreed upon by the parties. So again, I'm not advocating for or against everyone. It sounds anyone, but it sounds like a pretty routine transaction. But absolutely, if you would rather have a different attorney view this and provide advice, I will help you with that. I will help you find somebody.
Does that answer your question, Director? Okay. Did you have additional questions? All right. Director Bukowski, if you have a question.
Yes, ma'am. I've got two questions, a question and an answer. One of the things that Chief Carmesino and I spoke about at our rural meeting when we had a discussion as a group, including the citizens in the audience, we discussed those signage that Gibbs' idea to put those electronic signs up the canyon, which was a great idea. But one of the things that Chief Carmesino made me aware of is there's a new push from within LEDA and then LFRA, and I believe a couple other parties, to put up electric signs that would have need Wi-Fi, potentially Bluetooth to control them and change the information on them. So my question is, do we want to repair these signs, or do we want to just wait until there's a better solution? So I guess that's excuse me, I have the hiccups. That's a question for Chief Carmesino / whoever else is involved on this. That'd be number one, why we're repairing something that we're going to replace anyway. The second thing I would have is regarding the counsel we get from your firm. Emily, you guys have done an awesome job. And I personally, on just one vote on the board, I personally would not want to change our counsel whatsoever.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I do. I think your question on whether this agreement remains the appropriate model is a good one, and Chief Carmesino has expressed that to me as well, as did my contact at LEDA. So I don't know if this exact agreement is going to be the final. I don't know if what was proposed a year ago when this actually came up is what will ultimately be agreed on. I just need to know whether I should be even talking to both parties about this or whether I should be helping you get somebody else.
Did that answer your question, Director Bukowski?
Yes, ma'am, it does. And as far as somebody else, I think you, excuse me, these darn hiccups. You guys do an awesome job. So I'm one person. I do not want to change counsel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Director McFall.
Yes, so I have a couple questions, Emily, for you, and then for Chief Brodsky in here in just a second. So Emily, for you, is there any reason or concern that you have doing this?
I don't have concern.
Okay.
We represent so many fire districts and fire-related agencies in the state that it's not that uncommon that two of our clients want to engage in a cooperative deal with one another. I'm careful on the front end to make sure that I don't see an obvious conflict of interest or thin ice that looks like we're going to fall through. I don't see that in this case, but of course it's not impossible. And so I just want to be upfront with everybody about your rights, and your options and the potential that things go sideways, even if we don't perceive that that is a realistic possibility at this time.
Fair enough. And then, Chief Morosky, if you can, Director Burkowski made basically saying, why are we repairing these when we could get new ones in later? I guess my question for this is there a safety issue in delaying repair?
I don't think that there is, Director. I don't think there's an issue there, but I just think it's probably what's the best way moving forward for the future with this. Are these the best signs, or are there other options out there? This was generated at our last rule board meeting, and it just came actually from citizen input, which was really a great idea. We went down the road of several different options during the meeting, and then later, Director Bukowski and Battalion Chief Carmesino spoke about this, and then this came up about the repair of the signs and all of that. So I just think what's the best option here is probably the most important thing to come out of this discussion.
And that's what I was hoping to get us answers of looking at that. And then the other aspect, one more question came from Director Bukowski. You said that their Wi-Fi and everything else. I know that the state has made some really good inroads in the canyons. If you look at Golden Gate Canyon or look at Clear Creek Canyon and that, but they're putting cell transmitters up in each one of the areas up there to better do it. I know of our canyon, there's some really dead spots up there for cell. So I guess my concern would be if we wait for Wi-Fi or anything else like that, how is the signal supposed to be transmitted?
Well, and if I could just interject here really briefly. The item before us is to consider approval of, to request, sorry. It's, I don't even know what the item is, but it's not about signs. Consider legal conflict of interest disclosure letter.
I'm with you.
So I know we're not motion, so it's
I'm
not
good
second,
I
okay.
can ask the questions later.
Thank you. Yes, you guys can circle back on that.
I have been chastised.
So I would entertain a motion unless we have further discussion.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
excellent. And that would be the motion to approve, I guess, or consider the legal, I don't know. What would that be, Emily?
Yeah, it would be a motion to approve the conflict of interest waiver disclosure letter.
All
So
right,
moved.
excellent. Thank you. All right, if we could do a roll call, please, Christy? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Do I have a second?
You don't have a second.
Thank you. Okay. Director Lund.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Bukowski.
Andrew Sampson,
Yes.
Paul Bukowski,
Yes, I agree.
Bill Lundquist,
Yes.
Patrick McFall,
Yes.
Jim Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. Thank you all for that. All right, so our next item on the agenda today was amended. Now we are headed into executive session. Emily, would you mind reading off the appropriate motion?
Yeah.
For that?
We would be asking for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246402(4)B and E to receive advice of legal counsel and discuss matters subject to negotiation related to the collective bargaining MOU.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Andrew Sampson,
Yes.
Paul Bukowski,
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Bill Lundquist,
Yes.
Patrick McFall,
Yes, ma'am.
Jim Thompson.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We will recess, or I guess we recess, Emily. We don't adjourn into executive session.
Tonight, the executive session will constitute privileged attorney-client communications and will not be recorded. For the board and Chief Morowski, Michelle Ferguson is on the video call right now, and she's the attorney you're looking for. So I don't know if you want to step out into the smaller conference room, but if so, and if you're only able to call one of us, please call Michelle. If you're able to loop us both in, that would be great. So, but I'll leave that up to you and your
Madam Chair.
platform.
Yes, Director Bukowski.
Madam Chair, is it possible to call me as well?
Yes, we can make that work. We will definitely call you, and then Emily, we will call you. Without objection, we'll step into the conference room.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Excellent.
talk to you all in a moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will be back.
You got
out of our meeting at 12:30 because one of our board members has to leave at that time. So we're gonna try and kind of crane through this, but I would entertain, and I guess we'll come back out of
Yeah, bring us
executive
back
session.
in the.
Okay, so however I do that, Chrissy, I'll do that.
Yes,
So that's, consider that done.
Yes, done. We're back in session.
All right, so do we have any discussion or action following our executive session? If there's a motion, I would entertain a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the MOU as presented with an amendment to it. Every reference to 30 days to change to 60 days. Part of that is there's twofold. One, it's the first time we'll be going through this process. Secondly, the board only meets once a month. And so, if we meet once a month, we won't have time to refer to anything. So at least that'd give us 2 meetings unless we have more special meetings, but we've had enough special meetings this year. And so I think right now, that's the focus on that. So motion is to approve the MOU with the change from the 30-day references to 60s, based on the comments at least I made. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
Okay.
I'm second.
Excellent. Just a second. All right, and I forgot to find out if Director Bukowski was online.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I apologize, hopefully he is. And heard all that, so, then I have to do it again.
Don't have him yet,
Okay,
and I don't have Emily in either.
oh, Emily probably won't be back.
Okay.
She had to jet. Well, we can go ahead and move forward at least with discussion and then when Paul gets on, he can weigh in. So is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I'd like, just a couple things. One, I really appreciate the aspect that President Willard and union representatives have gone back and were able to look at the areas of concern that we had. I firmly agree with Director Thompson on this one. It's our first time out the gate. If we're gonna do and again, I continue to say this, we're gonna do our due diligence. We need to have good time to do that. We haven't even approved the budget yet or looked at the budget and taken that into account of what we need to do. And I think the 60 days itself gives us the opportunity to really do justice to what we're doing so that we're ensuring we're taking care of the LFRA, we're taking care of the life of the firefighters during these types of negotiations.
Director Lundquist, any discussion? No?
I don't think I have anything to add to that.
Okay. All right, yeah.
You say I talk too much? No, just-
Do we have Director Bukowski online?
He is.
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Bukowski, have you been able?
I would agree. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to make sure you'd heard what the motion is that's on the table and then any of the discussion.
I did not hear the motion.
Okay, would you just rephrase or restate your motion briefly?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. To approve the MOU as presented with a change for wherever it references 30 days to 60 days.
Did you have any?
Very good. I would totally agree with the 60 days. The issue is I don't know, maybe you already said this, but we meet every 30 days and to give it the attention it needs, 60 days is the absolute minimum in my opinion. So that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Bukowski. I appreciate that motion as well, Director Thompson. I feel as though conversation, negotiation, has already gone really well between the two parties. And I believe that, that extra time will help encourage, more thoughtful decision-making. And I believe that we have shown it, shown up in good faith thus far. So, that it won't cause any sort of timing conflicts. So that being said, if everyone's all right with it, let's go ahead and do a roll call, if you don't mind, Christy.
Andrew Sampson,
Yes.
Paul Bukowski,
Yes, ma'am.
Bill Lundquist,
Yes.
Patrick McFall,
Yes.
Jim Thompson.
Yes.
Excellent. That motion passes. So I believe we will hear back from our attorney regarding how we move forward with that. Moving on to our next item. Item number 4, consider approval of request to hire an executive search firm. So I don't know. Do you guys think we could do 13 items in 30 minutes? I don't know. I think we could do it. All right, so give us the speedy version. Everything we need to know.
We're gonna do The speedy version is, last month at the board meeting, you all gave us, the approval to, do the request for qualifications. So we launched that out. We received back 4 RFQs for us to evaluate. And we've done so. Our HR manager director, Andrea Wright, and myself reviewed all of these, scored these, using some pretty specific metrics. And at the end of that, we came away with one firm that we would recommend to the board today and ask for your approval for that, and also the approval for some funding to get that done. We do have a handout with some additional information if you would like to see that.
Yes, please.
Yes,
It's in your.
I was gonna say, it should be in our packet, right?
It's on the packet. It was outside the
Is that right
packet.
here?
Oh, it's right here.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
got it.
So it has the 4 firms that are listed there.
Yeah, I have that one. I wrote
Oh,
on
okay.
it, but I was just, I thought there was more than just the 4 firms, right? So, okay. Now I got a question.
Okay,
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Director.
criteria did we use to select?
that's a good question. Director Thompson, there's a note in there. One of them was the alignment with the LFRA needs. You know, we have some specific needs, maybe outside just the, what would be considered maybe a city fire department because of the authority aspect. So we were looking for something that had some experience with either an authority or fire district, that sort of thing. The firm's experience was also a criteria that we used. How many of these have they done in the past? How many have they done in the state of Colorado? Project personnel, did they have the personnel that had firefighter, fire chief experience in that selection process? And last, of course, is the pricing of it. So those were 5 of the criteria that we used for that. We had a point system that was, and there were some of those were weighted in addition to that.
Thank you.
Director McCall.
So, yeah, so, and my question, actually, it was good that you said, so when you start looking at, so the aspect of what you're looking for, we're all weighted equally, so that if somebody, or that we're weighted in a way, so that, I guess here's where my concern is. I always have a problem when you go with the lowest bid, but the best qualified is a little bit higher.
Right. That's why the pricing wasn't as high as our specific needs. And I think that's a big factor for us. And then the firm's experience, what's their history? Do they have the personnel to do this? And by the way, the pricing was all relatively similar. It wasn't a major factor.
That makes sense. And then my other one is on. I don't know whether I can ask this question. It's like on pricing. I'm assuming we've looked at budget and everything else, whatever you're gonna request as far as funding is available.
Yes, Director Fall, we do not have this in our budget.
Okay, so
We were not expecting this in the 2026 budget.
Gotcha. Okay, so we need to find some more money.
Yes.
Okay, that's where my question was. Okay. And you're prepared to tell us how much you want to find?
Sure.
Well, I don't need to hear. I just.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll bring back that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, we'll need the appropriation.
Yes.
Director Lundquist, yes.
This is gonna be, what, a 6-month process,
We have
4 months?
in our timelines, Director Lundquist, we're hoping to have the majority of this done by September with the new fire chief selected and hopefully online in October. That was the original plan, and we're pretty much on target right now for that.
So one thing I found, and I think it's important, I really appreciate you putting the timeline up there, Chief. One thing I found in hiring is that hiring over the holidays seems to slow down. People aren't wanting to make
Yes.
decisions and things like that. So the concern I have in slowing this process down is we start getting into those holiday seasons and we start running into problems, trying to get people in for interviews, trying to get people to talk to and the whole bit. Would you concur with that, either you or Andrea?
Yeah, I would concur, although the 4th of July and, what is it, Labor Day coming up, in September, I don't see as.
I was worried more about November, December.
No, I don't see us going into November,
Okay.
December.
If,
Most of the firms, it's
but
14
we did have a
weeks.
request from some in the public to delay this,
We did, yes.
which if we delayed this, would that put us, that would
Absolutely.
Okay,
And that may put us into 2027.
That's the question I wanted to ask. Thank you. Cool. I'm good.
Okay, I think Director Thompson has something.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Oh, you are? Okay, well, can I ask you a question? Because we recently hired you at the city.
Yeah.
And you've worked with a lot of these firms. What is your experience with the 4 firms that responded?
I've worked with all 4, GMP and SGR are probably the 2 that have the most experience on the fire side of the group. So, both are very capable, competent. Greg Prothman and you have Prothman down below, but that's wife took over that company and
You know, way too much.
Oh, they.
yeah, he was the deputy city manager in a community down the street from me in Washington before he started his company. And there's a whole history to that. And then SGR, obviously, their new president, Ron, hired Darren Everett from Fort Collins. So we have that local connection too. He runs SGR now. So, you know, all of them, I can talk to all of them, but both of those probably have the most recent experience in hiring fire chiefs.
Okay.
That
Excellent.
was our experience as well, same thing we evaluated, Director Thompson.
Director Bukowski, do you have anything you'd like to add? Director Thompson would like to make a motion.
Nope, I trust Jim's opinion on this, so I'm sure I'd like to hear his motion. Thank you.
Good as well.
You ready?
Yes, we're
Okay.
ready.
I move, we approve, the RFQ, I guess we did, to hire SGR to move forward with the selection of the new fire chief process. And I'll add to that motion that we come back and have a discussion regarding the budget authority for that. I mean, obviously, we want you to move forward, but we'll have to do something associated with that. Part of that, though, and I'll have a comment once we get a second, have discussion on the motion.
All right.
Second.
Okay, go right ahead. McFall was the second.
Thank you.
So if I may, on the discussion board, Chief, I know we didn't hire all 13 positions and we're in the process of hiring all 13 that have been funded for 3 years now by the district or by the rule. What are those? I know we're in the process of filling all those finally after having a vacant, and I know the city has to pick up 80% of that come January. And I know we budgeted for them again this year, so there should be some inherent savings there because we didn't hire all 13. And so that may be the first place to look before you bring them back.
Yes.
We did not move forward with all 13. What was approved in the 2026 budget was 11 of the positions, including filling the final 3 for August or September. That is what was budgeted. That is, we do not have extra available. And Chief Smith's
So how
presentation
many have we hired so far?
we have hired 8 of the 11. The other 3, well,
We
actually, I
fully
guess that's not
funded
true.
8, but we fully
We've made
funded
off.
11.
Sorry,
We fully funded 11 for this year, you're saying?
not for the entire year. They were not funded for the entire year. They were funded to be hired for the fall academy. That is what was put in the budget for 26. So there's not savings available there.
So
Okay. We can get accounting for that, I
respectfully-
appreciate that.
Okay,
Yeah, the accounting of all that the hiring and how much we put in the budget, how much we spent and everything else. Because I thought there would be a little bit remaining there, but you're telling me there's not, but I would like to see that. So,
I'm sorry.
and we will, if you don't mind, respectfully, we will have that discussion in a couple items. So can we vote on a motion?
yeah,
Because
we
we
can
got
vote on
stuff to do.
the Yeah.
And then I do want that, and you'll be here for that discussion because we're gonna move this on. So if there's no further discussion
I'd like to
regarding the
say-
search firm.
I'd like to say one thing real quickly here, and this kind of goes to the public comment. I get the concern about what's been going on around the LFRA and what's happening as far as some of the folks leaving, people going. I know Director Thompson is leaving in July and everything else, but I'm also quite confident of the folks that are here, both on the fire side and on the board side, that we're going to be able to chew bubblegum and walk. At the same time, if we can't do that, we shouldn't be here, period.
Right.
And with that, the other aspect is, for me, one of the most important things as far as stability for the LFRA, and I think Chief Borowski's doing a good job of that, is getting a new chief in place to be able to do this. And the sooner we're able to do that, the sooner we can start moving a lot more things forward. So because of this, I'm ready to vote.
Okay. And I just want to state that I thank you for putting the work into this to get this done, so we can move it forward. Thanks for waiting until Friday on this. And it's my understanding, I know there's been a lot of requests by the public for Chief Senelbach to come back. He has resigned. There was a process. People maybe aren't aware, but he cannot, there's agreement that he will not be back at LFRA. So anyone holding on to that last hope, we apologize, but we're ready to move everyone in the same direction, rowing in the same direction, new direction. And this is the first step to that. So thank you for putting this together and getting us out there. And I will take a roll call unless we had any additional discussion. I think we're good. Good. All right, roll call, please.
Andrea Sampson,
Yes.
Paul Butkow,
Yes, ma'am.
Bill Lundquist,
Yes.
Patrick McFall,
Yes.
Tim Thompson.
Yes.
That motion passes. All right, our next item, discussion regarding possible LFRA financial audit. I would like to maybe really quickly, Director Thompson, I want to make sure that the things that your concerns that you were sharing get into the discussion. So if you feel this item is one that where you can plug that in, since it's kind of part of that audit discussion, I would absolutely support that. So I just want to get through that other one.
Yeah, this one or the budget. I mean, either one we could have the discussion. I just want to see if there's any inherent savings that we haven't expended yet that we could utilize rather than a new appropriation, because then that means I have to go back to city council. The rule board will have to go back and do one as well. And so that's the challenge.
For those-
All of a sudden, we're doing additional appropriations from funds we may or may not have available to us. So
For
but
those
there's-
positions that you were.
yeah, so that would
Okay.
be part of it, but I think on the financial audit, if I may, I agree, we've talked about this for probably 7-8 months now to look at and to get to a good place, so I agree with moving forward.
Okay, excellent. And I don't believe there is any sort of presentation on this. Is that correct? Oh, Christy, did you have one?
No, so Director Bukowski was the one that
Yep.
requested this be added, so we didn't have a presentation.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I was just gonna, we're on the same page. Director Bukowski, you added this to our agenda. Would you like to speak to item 5, the financial audit, possible audit?
Yes, ma'am. I think audit might be the wrong term. It's a financial statement of comparison and review, compilation and review. So that would be the term that we probably need to use in discussing this with our CFO. And I would request that we get some guidance from Brian Waldis, the CFO of the City of Loveland, to assist in us finding the firm to help us do this. In my conversations with Brian, this is not going to be a $200,000 bill, Jim, to put it a little bit at ease. Not even close. According to a conversation, a pretty educated guess was sub $7,000. So it's not a $200,000 audit engagement. It's not to that extent. So I don't know if that helps or fogs up the air on this one, Madam Chair, but that would be my comments on it.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have further, I mean, of course, we're not making a motion yet, but do we have any discussion on this end?
Yeah, for me, if I can, Madam Chair. Basically looking at all that, and again, like I said, I think all of the boards that have gone before us, I think have done the job that they felt they needed to do in it. So I look at things differently. I just do. And I'm used to seeing things in a different manner, whereas I still can't get my head wrapped around some of the more linear things that are in here. And this is no fault of anybody's. I think we're getting the information that's being asked for. Matter of fact, this last set was even better than what we got before because it kind of pared it down. So I think having somebody who's got the ability to come in and just kind of take a look at it and put it in a format of the way that I think we should, as a board and boards going forward, should be able to look at this. The biggest thing that I've done in my career in public service is to make sure that we're doing due diligence with the public's money. period. And I've always sat down and I can use some examples of my last organization where I had each one of my organizational chiefs had their own budget. And their line items on their budget were their line items, it was there, but it didn't mean I didn't look at the line items, I didn't sit down and question the aspect of where they're going with those to ensure that we were doing the right thing, especially when we start looking at budgetary constraints the way we've been looking from the city standpoint or even the federal government standpoint. And when I look at that, I think it's important to understand the bottom line of where we're at. And so with that, I think I would support at least going to an outside firm to take a look.
Yes, yes.
I think it's very important for the board to understand it, and if, you know, an outside firm can help with that, I'm 100% supportive of that. I think there's also a lot of opportunity for board education. Some of the questions that we've had emailed to us, for instance, one thing that was asked for a few times was how much property tax do we receive? There was also a line about our ambulance service bill. We do not do either of those.
Right.
And so I think as part of this process, it would be good for the board to have, you know, some sort of a you know, overview and more details of exactly what LFRA does and does not do.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, this is something that on city council, it's very similar because you get, you know, people who are revved up about an issue or they're just excited to represent people and then they get on the board and they have maybe some misconceptions. Maybe there's things they literally didn't even know existed. And I think, you know, we will have actually a very new board, all but one here shortly when Director Thompson leaves, because you were here before the rest of us, you and Director Bukowski. So I think you're right. Board education would be amazing. And I also think that this is, you know, considering this is a statement of compilation and review, I like that a lot, Director Bukowski. I think that gives us opportunity to have a better kind of 30,000 foot view, which is what we need, but we also kind of need to know how all the gears move. And then that takes the pressure off of this like constant kind of back and forth. And now we can work together as an organization because that's what we are. So I like that a lot. And I agree. I'm in full support of doing this. So long as it's not $250,000 or whatever you said, Director Bukowski. Is there any other comments? I would entertain a motion. I don't think we have one on the floor, do we?
No.
Did you make a motion, Director Thompson? We don't? No? Okay, so I'd entertain a motion if I could too, please. By anyone who would like to make it.
I'm ready to move forward with the compilation and review of the budget.
Excellent, thank you. That was Director Lundquist and Director McFall with the second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and roll call.
Andrew Stanton,
Yes.
Paul Bukowski,
Yes, ma'am.
Bill Lundquist,
Yes.
Patrick McFall,
Yes.
Jim Thomas.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. Thank you all. We'll move on to item number 6, receive a presentation regarding overtime and rovers. And I just want to say, thank you all. We are doing a really good job on our time. So who do we receive a presentation from? I probably should look here.
That'll be from me.
All right.
Do
Chief
we
Smith.
want to put the LFRA budget priority now in case we run out of time?
You know what? That is a very good question. And the individual who needs to leave probably would like to speak to it the most. So Director Thompson, would you like to swap the budget and the overtime and rovers, or do you want to keep it how it is?
No, because I was gonna push the budget back until June, to the June meeting anyhow, because that's when we'll be meeting with all the departments. I don't know how big the city's pie is. And the request in the budget's a 31% increase. So I
Okay.
know I'm not gonna have 31% of the fire's budget to provide to the fire. So before we have that discussion, it'd be nice for the city to know how much we anticipate having in our revenue, and we start those meetings in June. So having that discussion in June would certainly help. Otherwise, it's a multi-million-dollar request here. That means that the only option I have, not knowing how big the pie is growing, which I don't think it's going to grow as much as this request, that means we'll have to make cuts in other departments during the month of June to mitigate that. And so they're pretty substantial in some areas. So before we have that discussion, I really would like to be comfortable, at least with the three of us that have to serve in that lane as well.
Okay, so since we're having that discussion right now, yes, we will put the budget priorities ahead of rovers. So if you don't mind, we'll just, and then we can wrap that.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna swap, and right now, instead of reviewing item 6, we're gonna review item 7, continued discussion, 2027 LFRA budget priorities to include everything that Director Thompson just said, and I think our chief has something he'd like to say.
Yeah, that is mine. Thank you for that. Christie, could you bring up those 2 slides that have the 2 different presentations that we're making?
And while you do that, I absolutely hear and support your request to have the full conversation when we can do it more collectively. If we,
That's the one. Yes, thank you.
is it possible, Chief, you just kind of give a little overview so we
Yeah,
have a little
that's all we're
planted?
gonna do.
Okay,
Director Sampson, we're gonna just talk briefly about this today. And I agree with Director Thompson, we need to have much more discussion in this, but my point of bringing this up was this is probably, I think, the 4th time or 5th time you all have seen our budget priority slides. It's the 2nd time we've seen one with dollars attached to it. And as we saw from the first one with the lines through it, the total in that first presentation was $9.9 million. And recognize that's a lot of money. And we also recognize that the likelihood is we weren't going to get all of that. But we also wanted you to know those were our needs. And that's the needs of the organization. The important thing, I think, for today's discussion, and Christie, could you go to the next slide that doesn't have the lines crossed out? There we go. I think what I wanted to have as a takeaway today is that we've had a significant reduction in what our asks are here. And I want to focus today on what those priorities are. And I want the board to know that as we move forward, a couple of things here within these numbers. 2 of these items on here, the radio lease and the workers' comp premium, those are already existing expenses. We can't do anything about that from this particular budget. What I want to focus in on is where our firefighters are at and the workers, the FPPA and the death and disability issues that we have here. The compensation that we're talking about here for the firefighters, we took the lower of the 2.3 million would get us back to the 50th percentile. We were there 3 years ago, and now in the comparison departments where we are, of all of those departments, we're in last place. We have some additional handouts if you'd like to see those numbers specifically. Yes? Yeah. Could you handle those out for me, please?
and if possible, for future, we can get these in the packets.
Yes.
Public can see as well, thank you.
Chief, is this total comp or is this just salaries?
This is salaries, Director
We
Thompson.
have one with total comp next meeting.
Right. And I
Yeah,
think one of the things
because
in
I know
total,
some just do the 401, then some don't do the 457, and as we learned on Wednesday, we do up to a 5% match on the 457, and not everybody does that.
right.
So I just want to see total comp.
Well,
possibly.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that when we look at total compensation, we've got $650,000 in here for the FPPA death and disability benefits. We are the only department in our comparisons that require our firefighters to pay that. That's $650,000. That averages out somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 per firefighter per family that they're paying on their own. No other department in our comparisons, as far as total comp, requires that. Longmont is the only other one, and they pay for half of it. So that's a significant thing when we talk total comp. We have to add that one in there. But I want to point out to you, though, when we look at this, I'm very uncomfortable as I see Loveland Fire Rescue Authority and our firefighters being the bottom of the list of our comparison departments. We have some of the best trained, the best operational firefighters in this region. And I come at that from 4 years of running the FRFC training academy, watching other departments work. We have some of the best EMS services here. When you combine what we do with Thompson Valley Ambulance Service, We provide some of the best EMS services. We work directly with our police department here. We're one of the only departments that have a TAC fire portion of the SWAT response. We are the only department that has, that I'm aware of in our region and in our comparisons, that have a special operations for technical rescue, water rescue, those types of calls that we are able to dispatch that out. And then when we look at the training that our folks do, we are known as the training department in this region. And that's why our effectiveness and our efficiency is so high. One last point here. Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, the men and women of this organization changed this entire region on the command and control of operations. We were the only department in the entire state and in the region that had a command training center for blue card hazard zone management. We were the first in this region. We changed everything in this region with all of our departments that run together and that call for automatic aid, mutual aid. We're on the same page now with blue card hazard zone management. All that's done under the umbrella of Loveland Fire Rescue Authority firefighters, and we're in last place. As a fire chief, that is unacceptable.
I understand. I appreciate that, Chief. Thank you. And in the interest of time, we'll probably need to keep this short. And if that's okay,
Yes.
I hear all of that, and I am grateful for our organization. And I don't believe that this conversation will ever be that we don't support everything that this organization is doing for our firefighters and everything that our firefighters do for our community. I love knowing all that, and I think it should be in print and we should pass it out. People need to know how incredible we are. The pay conversation though is a separate conversation, and it's not, because you pay people for being amazing. But when we sit down and look at these numbers, being on the bottom sounds horrific. How could we be on the bottom if 3 years ago we were not on the bottom and the board approved raises and there's increased overtime and there's all the other things going on? So we don't have to answer that today, but that's something I would really like us to bring back, because, we as a board, and that's part of the financial audit, but we can't figure out how did we drop so far in just 3 short years? So if you can bring that back to us at the next meeting, I would really appreciate that. And I know other directors probably have questions as well.
I think one thing we could help you.
Madam Chair.
Chief, if you don't mind, really briefly, I'm gonna because Director Thompson needs to go pretty soon, so can you?
We just want to hand out one more thing to you that might answer your question. If you take a look at the budgets of those comparison departments, that might be the answer.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. And we can talk more on that, because that's
Yes.
not the end of that conversation.
And can you? just
Director
real quick,
Bukowski,
can
I
get
heard
these
you,
to
and
us
it'll just be a
electronic?
second.
Get these to us electronic.
We can, absolutely.
Do you need to leave at 12:30, or can we put you? Do you have to leave at 12:30, or can you push?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Director Thompson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Chief, if I may, just a couple on this one. So the apparatus, I know that we didn't put, back a couple years ago, we didn't put money in, then we cut the amount
Right,
down
right.
and things like that. And so maybe for the whole board at the next discussion, kind of have a breakout of what we did there, because
Sure.
we extended the life of the vehicles and everything else. And we
Right.
talked about it last year during my tenure, and now I think that would help, because we're really far behind. So this is not like a catch-up number. This is probably just to get this back.
This
to-
is to buy things that we've been off.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
are-
and
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so exactly, but I think it'd be good just to have a little background on some of that. The FPPA, D&D, we should include that as the compensation discussion against,
Yes.
and likewise. I do have a lot of questions on overtime, but we're gonna talk about that. You guys have already shared with me in a separate presentation, so I get a good feel for it, but I think for the rest of the board, what's going on with overtime, because there's been multiple things that occurred over the years. One, when we brought on the health group, we were gonna save the overtime because we weren't gonna send firefighters to CSU, for which we weren't paying for those physicals, but here we are. And we were gonna save all the overtime because they're going to the facilities. And yet the overtime number goes up. Then we hired firefighter rovers. Now we hired in the 13. There's more rovers for engineers and others. We just need to get a good feel for that for the board. And I've already seen probably a portion of the presentation.
Yes.
I feel better about it, but I think we should have that discussion to give us all comfort, because every year overtime keeps going up with the things that we were doing. at times during the presentation, we were told that it would minimize overtime, or it would, control it in a better light. And then the accreditation, it's only 45 grand, but I'm still, is that absolutely necessary this year, or that? I mean, just when we're looking at things, definitely compensation. And last year, I think part of the discussion that Chair Sampson brought up, which is very important, we had this discussion last year, it was shown on the list, and we said it should just be automatic, right, to keep up with the times. But on that compensation, want to make sure that we really look at what we did last year, because there's a little bit of confusion out there. Last year, the rule agreed to pay the full amount to give them the bump that was requested, but then we heard in a meeting that we didn't do that entire amount. So I want to find out what happened there, because the motion was actually to do the entire amount, rule was going to pay for it. So I don't know what happened. And then also the radio leases, if we can get a list of those who have signed up. I know we had multiple discussions. We had last summer, we were at the fire station over in Johnstown. We originally approved it, and then we came back later because not all the parties that we thought would join did not join. And part of the way the agreement's written, we're ultimately responsible as the lead agency. And so when I see in there, we should have revenue coming in from the others that were supposed to join to cover some of those costs, but I don't know if we do or don't. And so I'd like kind of see what that looks like, because that was part of the deal. We need radios. We all knew that. We approved them the first time. We approved them the second time. But it'd be nice to know where we fall with that one. That's going to be an ongoing cost of $730,000 a year for the radios, because we leased them. And granted, we had some that were 17 years old, if I remember that presentation. So good or bad. Back on compensation, I do have a ton of questions around that. It looks like we're comparing on the percentiles to the top of the range and not midpoint. City uses midpoint for what it's worth. The other thing is how deep are the ranges, and then what's the spread between ranks. And so rather than just the firefighter or fire max, it'd be good to see the full compensation system and what our spreads are and what our steps are in comparison to others. Because you could have a step system where your midpoint is the same, and it could be $10 to $20 an hour, but somebody has a shorter range and theirs is 14 to 16, but still the midpoint's 15. And so the top of the range of a deeper range set of step system is much higher, and their bottom is much lower, but yet you still accomplish the same. Then obviously, what's the spread between ranks? So I'm just curious of that, because we changed the system in the city last year to make changes to it, to make it more efficient. And then we did 2 different things with it. So I'm just curious of what we do with LFRA, because multiple times in the meeting here, we've had discussions that the LFRA does pretty much what the city does in some things, but I'm learning that's not the case. So I just want comfort in that, so we don't react to that accordingly. So thank you. That's it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, look at that.
Thanks,
Thank you. Director
So
Thompson,
glue it all up.
please do.
I'll get that.
Director Bukowski, you had a question or a comment?
Yes, ma'am. And this is directed to Chief Morawski. Chief, one of the things you're very good at is moving forward and not looking back, and I admire that. But sometimes you have to look back to figure out how you got where you are. And I am echoing what Madam Chair had mentioned about us being at the bottom. That came to it as a major shock to me 3 months ago, when it was stated at one of our board meetings that we were at 0. I mean, it blew me away that how we went from being 50 percentile to 0, the board had no idea. We are a board that supposed to meet 12 times a year. We do not have our finger on the pulse of where we are supposed to be financially as far as compensation goes. We've gone out of our way, I'm not going to beat the rural drum again, but we did, to make sure that the pool from the city, which was 2.5, went to 4% for compensation pool for employees. That was a major thing, and we were very proud to do that. But I still have to ask the question, and you don't have to answer it today, Chief, is how we went from 50 to 0 in 3 years, and the board was never made aware of this until several months ago. That's unacceptable. We need to know so we can make the adjustments financially and work with our partner, the city, to make sure our personnel are compensated correctly. And I echo everything you said, Chief Marowski, about the quality and the capability and the commitment of the people of the LFRA, either sworn or unsworn. There's no doubt of their excellence. But to be kept in the dark on this and for 3 years, and I'm sure there was things in the budget that obviously, but to know that we're 0% at the zero line is just blew me away. We do care. This board cares, despite what some people might think. We care an awful lot. So I hope we can, moving forward, that there isn't a surprise there anymore. So with that, Chief, thank you.
Thank you, Director Kukowski, and I of course can't answer that question that you asked, but I appreciate what you have said about our department. And it is where my heart is too. My point today was just to focus our attention that for this year, we're going to focus on the compensation side for our firefighters to try to get that back where it really should be. And we'll do our best to try to come up with the extra information that Director Thompson asked for here, and hopefully have that back to you by the next meeting.
That'd be excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Chief, could I add one more thing, please?
Yes.
Madam Chair, to dovetail onto that, looking at your slide presentation again, we're getting what we want in 27. I really want to see what we spent, and it can just be the total in 24, 25, 26, and 27, so we can see the trend. Just seeing that delta or seeing the additive on the end without the historics of the 24, 25, 26, it has a lot more meaning to what you're trying to accomplish, Chief. So I'm just one person on the board, but it helps me understand the trend, the cost of the things, such as your apparatus. Personnel costs are 75, 78% of our business. So I get that, but the historics to me are extremely important if we can include that in the future. Thank you.
There's a entire budget, that entire reporting package that was sent to the board that has exactly that.
That's great, Andrea, but I'm looking for something that when we're having a conversation, we can see it up on the board. The people in the audience can see it on a overhead, and not just, the whole package, but seeing it when we're having these conversations would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bukowski. I agree as well. So do we have additional comment?
Yep.
Yes. Did someone say
No.
no?
I said no.
No? Okay. So I think you've probably heard from the board, Chief, as to kind of what we feel. Just from what I've gathered in working with this board so far, I think we're on the same page with wanting to put our personnel at the top of the priority list. I think that, I haven't heard any pushback on that. And then I think the other thing is, we want a relationship that is not adversarial in any way, but rather that we work together to ensure that our public is fully informed. And most importantly, our LFRA family is fully informed with where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And I think that's also why, getting as much of this information kind of in front of the public as we can is ideal for all of us. It informs everyone, and it actually it holds, especially those of us who are here as elected officials, it holds us accountable too. And it gives us the tools we need when we're out talking to our community, and it gives our family what they need when they're out talking to the community too, the facts. So we're all speaking the same language, and I think that's super important. So that being said, anything you want to add there, Director McCall?
I think Director Thompson said it well, and I think this is the part. I'll add a couple pieces in there. One, I was surprised when I came on the board to find out where we're at, because I know for the last almost 5 years that I've been on city council, that when it's come to us for compensation for firefighters, we should pay them, pay them, pay them. So to come in and find out that they're the lowest paid out there now really surprised me. But where Director Thompson said it right, and this is the thing that I think trying to get this wrapped around for everybody, with the rural and the city and the operational side of the house, is understanding where our budgets sit, because we can't give what we don't have. And Jim said it perfectly. Right now we're at a point where if we have to give more in any area, we've got to take away from another area. And I'll use this as an example I've had with people when we talk about the unhoused. They go, well, you need to take care of the unhoused. I said, okay, I'll take care of the unhoused. Can I shut the library down? Can I close Chilton Center? Well, no, you have to keep it, where's the money coming from? So we've got to figure that out so that we are taking care of our people. We've got it there. And I don't have an issue. I tell people this all the time. From the city standpoint, there's a certain aspect that we're required from the city to take care of. We're required to take care of roads. We're required to take care of transportation. We're required to take care of some parks. Most importantly, we're required to take care of public safety, of which the LFRA is part of that public safety. And ensuring that we're taking care of that are our key pillars. And everything else is superfluous out there. If those have got to go, that's something we have to explain to the city and kind of go from there with, but we've got to know how we're explaining. That's all. So that's right.
Okay, sounds good. Any additional discussion?
No.
No? Okay, we didn't have a motion on this, but I think you maybe got kind of the feel of our vibe for today.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Chief,
Thank you for the time.
And thank you very
Yes,
much for this. And
and thank
Andrew, I
you
want to say this.
for the
I
information.
appreciate everything you've given us. I do. And I know I asked for a lot more. I know that, but that's me. That's just how I look at things. And it's got nothing to do with what you're doing at all. I think you're giving us all the information.
I also would like to point out, it's not exactly the format that you requested, but our monthly report has a lot of. It's little tiny numbers and stuff, which I know is not ideal.
I have a big screen at home.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
Love
but
that.
some of it is already.
Excellent.
Well, I think
And the public.
I think,
Thank
what I look for is that if you get, and this is just an example, if you tell me capital, this is money for capital, I'm looking to see, okay, what are capital projects?
Yeah,
If you tell me this is miscellaneous, I'm looking to see what is miscellaneous.
yeah,
Not that I'm questioning what's there,
Sure.
but it lets me know what's there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So.
Good, thank you. And yes, you've done an insane amount of work, and I know you have like a job. And then you've had to do all this extra, so thank you for that, for being able to bring us up to speed a little bit and give us a better grasp. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm the same way. I'd like a little bit more of a breakdown per the item, just so I have an understanding. I think, to come on and just say, okay, we make decisions for this organization, but we don't really know, really the crux of the organization. I think that's really what we're grasping at here, so.
That's why I sent the file that had like all the detail, which I know it's way too much, but it.
No, that helps
Well,
a lot.
I
That helps a
consumed
lot.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot to dig through, but
Yeah.
I consumed it.
the fastest way to get the breakdown is just, here's everything.
Yes.
and-
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
that, thank you. All right, so I think we're good to go for the next item. So Chief Smith, you're up. Receive a presentation regarding overtime and rovers, please.
Okay, Chrissy's gonna bring up the PowerPoint. Kind of a disclaimer with this is mostly about our rovers. With how we utilize our rovers, the hours that are in there. Most of the data sets that you'll see come from Telestaff, which is our staffing software. That's in there. There's a couple slides that talk about overtime. It's supposed to be more of a visual for you, but if you have questions about the numbers, I can talk to them a little bit. But the bulk of it, I just want to be shared is how we utilize our rovers and what that looks like.
Excellent, thank you.
So this first slide, the green bar is what we kind of categorized out as the plan leave. So this is the vacation time. This is the projects or programs, like special teams, our dieters, or any special training that we want our people to go through. These are planned items that we target. And the numbers well below what our rovers would be able to cover. The unplanned though, these are the backfills that take place. These are the medical call outs, military leave, people that are in long-term injury. So we kind of just wanted to show visually what that looks like. The green is what we plan for, but yellow is what our hours are telling us is happening. Any questions on that? Okay, jump to the next one. So this slide, the orange is all that yellow and green combined that you just saw. And then the green right there is what, in theory, all of our rovers would cover. That's assuming they work every single shift that they're assigned to. But we know that people get sick or they have their own vacation days. So visually, this is what's taking place. The hours below, though, that's the trend that we've been seeing.
Would you like us to hold our questions till the end?
No, I guess I'd like you to hit me up now as we go through it, because it starts shifting a little bit. So I'd love to answer anything that you guys have.
Okay, well, I'll go first. I don't know if anyone else had a question, but the rover hour coverage hours, the green, the numbers bar.
Yeah.
43, 843, 843, all the way through, and then 56, 940. What was the shift there?
So that was the approval the board gave us for rovers.
Okay.
So we filled 3 lieutenant rovers in the middle of December this year.
Okay,
We have 3 targeted engineer rovers that are gonna hit probably September-ish, depending on when we can get our testing process in place for the back part of the year. So that's just those numbers added.
and those are full-time employees?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they're hired with benefits, and that's a permanent position?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so those are the numbers. When you, there's different ways to do the math. And I was trying to come up with a good visual presentation. So in theory, what you're seeing there with the green is that they worked all their shifts, but their availability factor, if you want to use that as a term, is probably more like 80 or 75% of the time. So the actual hours that we're getting from them, they still provide the relief. But that's where it still can impact our overtime. And I'll show it in another slide here, but just kind of to the point of it, we schedule our vacation roughly a year and about in advance. So October, November this year, the shifts, and this is all for shifts. This is not the rest of the department. This is the guys and gals that are working online. October, November, they'll pick their vacation days for 2027. So that is sometimes rough, I guess, on the troops, but it's our way of working around coverage so that we know what's planned. November through April, we allow 4 people off. And then April or May through October is only 3 people off. So it's planned out. We feel like we have a good system, but then the unplanned leaves that you saw on the previous slide is really what has the major impact. So we're trying to work around that. So this is the historical breakdown going back to 2019. And the columns are the years and how everything plays out. As an example, starting in 2019, the shift, the number of people assigned to the shift was 25. We had to have 22 on shift every day. That covers the rigs. When someone calls out sick, it's not like the desk seat is open for the day. We have to make sure someone's there. And the difference is 3 people. Well, back then, we allowed 3 people off. So we never had any extra people back in 2019 to cover all the call outs and sick leave and those pieces. So we tried to grow that over the years. We did ask the board in 2020 to approve additional rovers, and they did. So that's why you have that jump in staffing. We also put another rig in service, but we at least gained 2 additional rovers. So that helps with that unplanned leaves that we have. There's a lot of information there. So I just need to stand up, cover it just a little bit. So the top line is the number of people that are assigned to the shift. This is split because we were able to do the rovers in December. And then September, we're supposed to add 3 additional rovers. So we'll be up to 34 people come that timeline. We really won't feel the effect of them because of the people going through academy. They won't come out of academy until December. So we're going to have, these numbers are just guesstimates. So these aren't actual. You can imagine for 2026. We will feel a relief, but we probably won't feel the relief until 2027. Minimum staffing. So this is making sure we cover every single rig. You're tracking with me. This is the amount of people that we allow off. We tried a year. What we're currently doing is splitting. We tried a year splitting, and we ran math thinking that, oh, we don't need to be doing that. So we went back to just doing 3 people off. Well, we felt the repercussions of that. It didn't work, and we had people that did their vacation days, and then there was no more left. And they were like, they didn't necessarily, we didn't have a bunch. I don't actually know the numbers, but some people lose time. If you don't spend it, you lose it. So we went back to make sure that we had enough time on everybody.
so now you're ideally 3, but can go up to 4. That's what 3/4 is?
Yeah, so this is the split. So half of the year we allow 4 people off, and that's that November through April. And then the other half of the year, we only do 3.
Okay.
Busier, in theory, busier time of the year, we only allow 3 people off. Hours that were 2026 is the assumptions. The rest of these are actual hours that come from telestaff. So you kind of saw these in the other graphs before, but just visually, you kind of put them all together if you want. These are the hours that weren't covered. We had to fill. This is where the overtime hits us. When you do the math, you take the amount of hours that it takes to just staff every single day, plus the leaves that hit us, you do the math, these are how many people you should have on each shift. So we're getting there. We feel like we're getting there. That's making sense. And these are some of the pieces that came along. So 2020 opened Station 7, 2 additional rovers. 2022 we opened 10, but we didn't add people until the following year. That was just a squad. We have this whole conversation, but you usually don't open a station without an engine. So we moved an engine. We put a squad at that station. And then board approved the additional rovers, which really started this year. Questions on that?
So back to that other slide, I was turning that over in my mind and I kind of got behind the drill here.
This one?
Yeah, the gap between the orange and the green. That
That's our
represents,
overtime.
I was gonna say, that represents overtime or rigs running short staffed or?
Yeah, this gap in here has to be covered. So that's where your overtime is coming. I got another slide that kind of specifically talks about the dollars, but these are hours difference. You want it to look more like this, for short. If your green is taller than your orange, then you have full-time people that aren't filling seats. So then that's that breakover that I know Jim worries about, sorry, Director Thompson, worries about on that rover status, where we at. You really want it to balance out. And if there's a little bit over, that's okay.
Even.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Well, and I think we're Jim had his question, Chief, and it's kind of in there, is that prior to us getting on the board, there was an approval for rovers because overtime was where it was. And it was to make sure that we had overtime covered. But overtime's still going up and we've approved the rovers. And that's where he has, and actually that's an area where I have a problem is if we did this to do away with rovers or do away with it to drop the overtime cost, why is overtime still going up? I mean, and that's.
Yeah, the rovers were put in place until December of the first round was December. So all that money was still being covered in overtime.
So
There wasn't another set of.
But see, and that's the part, and I think that's the part where, from a budgetary standpoint, albeit we need to do it, that there was a problem there because the money was set there for rovers, not to cover overtime. And I think that's where I know
Yeah.
Director Thompson had a problem. And then when I look at it, because when I approve budget going somewhere, it's approved for that one thing in my organization. And if they turn around and switch and use it somewhere, not a problem. But it'd be good to let people know you turn around, switch and move it that way. Because then we have a better understanding of how it's going. And I think that's a part where this board, Andrea, has a little bit more concern about knowing more about what's going on. So that we're aware and that we're not kind of.
But I think it's super great. I'm excited for these conversations because I would say being part of previous administration for a couple of years, there probably wasn't enough open communication about what was taking place, or maybe not clear enough of what was needing to happen. I know personally, I was in fear of hiring people that were going to be let go. So that was at least my own concern of not pushing it until we knew that there was support to move forward.
Sure.
Maybe that's just, to me, it's irrelevant. This is where we're at today.
And Chief, I greatly appreciate that 100% what you just said, because that has always been my big thing. I mean, I think one of the biggest things I've found since I've been on city council, whether it's the level of renewal audit that we've just gone through and everything else, is that we've come to realize there are a lot of folks that we're not really doing the correct oversight and the correct question and asking questions they should have been asking. And I think that's where we're at right now. And it's getting us to that firm ground we need to be in. And the unfortunate part would be a lot better to get to that firm ground if the city had more money. Because then it'd be an easy answer that way, but it's not. But that does help me. That's the whole aspect. And as I look into 27 and on, overtime's going up. So the question is this: is it the vacancies that we have that are really driving the oversight of the overtime, or is there more to it? And I will say this: one thing that struck me was when I looked at the overtime numbers that I saw lieutenants were making a greater amount of overtime than the firefighters were. And just from a boss standpoint, I look at this thing and go, why are my supervisors making more than their people when their people are doing all the work that's out there and getting there? And so trying to understand some of those things are, and it's not saying that it's wrong or right, it's just, are the processes set up in place? And then what can we do to get this lowered?
Well, and that's a great question, and I can hit it in a couple different aspects. So it's not necessarily, oh, if the boss is getting more money, the boss is qualified to fill the seat. So we've got 3 basic positions that have to be filled. And Chris, you can probably just move it to the next slide. Yeah, but the officers, so that's captains and lieutenants, engineers that are the drivers, and then the firefighters. What we've been doing since 2025, actually go one more slide and we can come back to this one. So these are some of the things that we've been doing. Beginning of 2025, we began pushing down the overtime to the firefighter rank.
Okay.
Before that, if you were signed up and tell a staff to voluntarily sign up that you want overtime, we would take anybody. It could be a captain, engineer, whatever. It didn't really matter the position as long as you were qualified. So that's where the challenge comes in. As you go up in the rank, engineer or the officer, as long as you're qualified, you got to fill the seat. Well, the reverse is almost automatic. If you're an officer, you can fill a firefighter seat. And there's not a lot of those occurrences, but that's what will be taking place. We have seen a trend, and Jason can speak to this as well. I would say our more senior folks are very apt to take overtime. Our junior folks are not. And so this year, though, is an anomaly. I'm hoping, or I'd like to believe this rover, these rover positions that we have are going to change for 2027. And it's going to look a lot better. Under the 26 bullet, we've already mandatory 45 times this year. That's mostly at the firefighter rank. We only did it 40 times last year. So by us driving it down, and the reason we drove it down to the firefighter rank is it's our most least expensive position. We didn't really feel it a lot in 2025, partly because we also browned out the squad. I don't know if you guys remember those conversations. That was a significant impact in 2 different aspects. One, it was a big relief on the overtime budget, probably not quite $300,000, but saved us a lot of money by doing that. But we also 83 days in 2025 lowered our service level. And we made a choice in October of last year not to do that anymore in November. And we'd really like not to lower our service level. That vehicle, that crew has a big impact on what we can do. So there was a lot of pieces that took place.
Chief Smith?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Director Mikowski.
Chief, quick question. So on the overtime piece, so if you have a seat to be filled as a firefighter and hypothetically a captain fills that position, is he or she paid at the firefighter rate or at his or her normal rate?
We've always paid them at their rate.
Which is what it should be.
So you could have a captain performing a firefighter's task at a captain's wage. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to understand.
That was how we did it up until 2025. So we would allow anybody that would sign up to take it. The mandatory overtime was very low. Did that impact our overtime? Sure. Yeah. If you're paying a captain overtime to sit in a firefighter seat, yeah. So we had savings by pushing it down, but now we're pushing this burnout or this number of mandatory hours that our firefighters are feeling.
Well, and that was you've actually. I love this when people answer an unasked question. So it's good. So you did answer an unasked question I had up there, but it kind of goes. I think what you just said is hitting the burnout. Because I also, I know from my own experiences that I've had folks both in the military and otherwise that are like, yeah, I'm gonna come out and help. I need to, I'm a team player, I'm gonna do this and everything else. But looking at that aspect, and I think what I heard you say, Chief, and correct me if I'm off on this one, is that prior to, if it was a lieutenant's position, you tried to get a lieutenant to fill that position on overtime, didn't matter what it was. In today's scenario, if you have a lieutenant's position that needs to be filled, you actually look down to maybe the next qualified person to come in and do that. Vice taking a lieutenant, and then the second part of that, and I'll give it to you, is this. If you have a lieutenant that comes in, are you also looking at the aspect, well, look, you just got off a 96. And then, you just got off, you just got off a 96. And you're doing this, but just making sure you're making that balance out of way.
Yeah, all great question. So to answer the first part, and it's even in a different slide, but I'll go over it again just to give you a little bit more structure. But to answer that, if there's anybody on the shift that's qualified to fill that seat for the lieutenant, and that helps drive down, like if it's an engineer that's qualified to be a lieutenant, we'll move that engineer over to that lieutenant seat, and then we'll either try to backfill an engineer, or let's say a firefighter is qualified to be the engineer, we'll bump the firefighter to the engineer seat, and then we'll fill the firefighter seat. So everybody's almost a rover, is the concept. So we'll shuffle it around the best we can to drive down the cost. Does that answer that first one?
That does, but above all else, not just the cost, it's driving down the burnout is what I'm more concerned about.
Well, it's not, because that's the firefighter rank that will end up getting filled, that's feeling the pressure. Instead of, it's the lieutenant vacancy initially, to just go grab a lieutenant that's on the sign-up list.
Okay.
So
We limit the amount of hours they can't work beyond 60 without approval from the operations, is it, but like they can't. I'm still thinking like the time take a little bit.
I have to point inward.
Yeah, so
pressure over there.
So that's in an effort to deal with burnout. Burnout's a complex thing.
Yeah.
And what Chief Smith's talking about here is probably the biggest driver of burnout, but we have other things that we're trying to do in a way that's a whole nother. Happy to share those things with you, but just don't want to let you know, we don't, some fire departments will let their firefighters work as many hours as they're willing to do. That's a huge safety concern. 48 hours is really a safety concern.
I agree.
To some degree, and that's why we limit it to 60. If we limited it to 48, we'd really be driving up some numbers. But we're willing to go that extra 12 and cut it there. And for the most part, 99% of the time, we maintain that.
Right. And sure, and I did say that wrong. I should say they just came off of 48, and now they want to do that. They're automatically in overtime then anyway. So
Yep, and now,
thank you for
I
correcting.
guess part of the relief in that scenario is that they can only work 12 hours. So if we mandatory someone, it's typically only going to be 12 hours. Or it's like, well, you're off tomorrow, but I need you to come in the next day and work at 24. So there's those rough conversations that the battalion chiefs have to have.
Well, and with that, I was curious, because you mentioned that everyone kind of in a way is a rover, but you're gonna stick those rovers in first.
Yes.
Before you do those things, right?
Yep,
That's why we have
100%.
them earmarked as rovers, and
Yep.
that's all they do. They're strictly rovers. They're not
Yep.
assigned anywhere else. Is the ratio, which was on another slide, but of the lieutenant rovers and the engineer rovers, is that in balance with the amount of engineers and lieutenants we have, or is it because lieutenants can do almost anything, so that's why we're getting 3 of them?
Well, so one of the big drivers for adding the lieutenant rover in December and then adding an additional engineer rover in September this year is to help cover that. So on our vacation bidding, we only allow 2 officers to be off at the same time or 2 engineers to be off. In the past, those rules didn't apply. You could have 3 or 4 officers or 3 or 4 engineers, and then you'd almost be forced in overtime any time you did that.
Right.
So we help restrict that down to what we have. Yeah, if we have future needs for rovers, it'll probably need to be at that engineer or officer rank, just so they can cover all the seats,
Right.
so to speak.
If we had a bunch of firefighter rovers, let's say, and we have all of our vacancies are up in rank and they aren't qualified to move up. Now we're paying overtime and having, well, lack of better terms, extras, would have extra people, right? Because they can't move up and fill those positions by having those higher ranks. We want to exhaust all of our extra staffing or all of our rover staffing before we go into the overtime.
So then we're paying our rovers per the rank that we're hiring them at, right? Do our lieutenants, do they have additional responsibilities as part of this station or the, I don't know the right name, crew that they're on? I mean, when you're permanently assigned to a place versus when you're roving, right? So like you're kind of on call. Is there a reason for an on-call lieutenant to make the same wages that a regular, that's stationed lieutenant would make? And that's not to say that I don't appreciate what the rovers do. But if they're filling all the way, all the different ranks, they're getting paid the highest amount for even when they're on as engineer. And they're hired knowing they're gonna be on call. So this is not, taking someone out of what they do and putting them, aren't they? Are they not?
So the way that our structure is, a couple different pieces that you have in there, I guess
Maybe a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, so on the pay side, we're on a step plan, so we don't have a mid or like a mid-range or an upper range or a low range. It's a specific step plan, so regardless of what you do, your extra assigned to duties or anything, you're gonna make the same wage,
Okay.
regardless. Our battalion chiefs meet annually at a minimum to look at assignments and who's going where. So we don't necessarily hire somebody to say, hey, you're gonna be a rover. We typically put brand new people in a station and so they can just kind of build a system. And usually our more senior folks are in rover positions.
The ones that are at the top of their steps in their rank.
And time on the job and experience, right? So like. When I was battalion chief, I used the rover position in many ways as a developmental tool. In the fact that I want to put any incoming new lieutenants in the station so they have an opportunity to learn how to manage a crew, do evaluations, run a company, run some calls.
Yeah,
My senior officers, I want in the rover position because number one, do I need their experience and knowledge and know how to be able to change, make decisions quickly with a company that they're not normally working with. There's a dynamic that is, operationally that you got to worry about there. And it gives them a chance to go around and potentially influence in many good ways all the other stations, because they're going to eventually throughout a year, they're going to hit every station, every company working, and they bring a different perspective sometimes and help get rid of what can oftentimes happen. The company, for lack of better terms, getting stale because it's the same people, same time, all the time, right? You get a fresh perspective every now and then.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
want to let you know, I do have a hard stop at 1:30.
Well, what are you chattering on about?
Well, I'm just trying to get answers. So, just for my own education, chiefs, whichever you, so basically overtime right now, is it your thought that it's mostly driven because of vacancies that we have out there, or are there more aspects to it? Do we really understand everything is driving?
Yeah, the biggest chunk that's in overtime is filling vacancies, but the other parts of overtime are covering trainings. And that's either backfilling someone to go to a training, and that's some of this slide here that we can talk about. Or it's sending someone to training that needs to be paid to go there. We've changed a lot to drive that cost down because of the budget situation, and that started in 2023 for us, ratcheting back, so to speak, or I called it operational constraints. But yeah, bulk of it, or the majority of it, probably the best way to say it is filling vacant. But there are other portions that come from the other side that's a bigger chunk we trained.
So basically on that, and I get it because I never got paid overtime to go to training. But it's the devil you dance with on this one, I guess is the best way to put it, because if you say, look, you're not gonna work this day because you've got training going, then you've got a vacancy.
Yeah.
And you've got to fill it.
And
So
and it's another hard one for us because our industry standard, or at least Northern Colorado, is they are getting paid to go to training, and we're not doing that. At least not like how we used to. We do it to a certain level based on, or we call it our matrix, but that's our certifications. So if it's part of your matrix growth or specifically at your rank, then you're getting paid or someone's backfilling you. But if it's like, I want to promote to this position, well, we'll support that to a degree. Maybe we'll cover your shift, but we're not going to cover your days off. So we're different than some of our neighbors, or I should say all of our neighbors. So it's an area that we hear about from the troops because we've changed what we've done.
It's another portion of what Director Thompson was talking about, the full compensation. It's things like this that we also need to look at. Director McFall, because again, most of the other departments in our comparison basis in our region, they pay their firefighters to go to training. We do not.
I think one other equation, and if we're not looking at it yet, I'd highly recommend we do it, and it's this. Given the motion that was approved today, if it moves forward with the MOU and the union and going into collective bargaining, is how is that going to affect us going downrange when it comes to salary approvals during CBA and everything else?
Mhm.
Go out there where you're at right now. So if we're not looking at that, we really need to start looking at how
Yes.
that may drive stuff too.
Yes, and I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
I think the difference will be the fire chief won't be here presenting slides about what we need in the compensation side of things.
Agreed.
We will on other things.
Yeah.
But not the pay and benefits. You'll be negotiating with the department and the organization that you have the CBA with, which is
Right.
local 3566.
But those negotiations, bottom line, affect all of us.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
the part I'm getting at. So,
Absolutely.
Okay,
So, do you have additional slides?
I did, but I thought, did you have?
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, I just had one quick
We're jumping in here, I'm sorry.
How often does a crew run a shift where they are just blowing and going for a whole 48 hours? And is that number going up, or is it,
There's three primary
I
companies.
mean, I'm sure it varies from station to station.
Yeah, engine 41, squad 46, engine 45 are our busiest three. And
That sounds like a 3-alarm fire you just said.
yeah, sorry, probably put that too quickly. Three different stations, station 1, 6, and 5, are currently the busiest. We are concerned about the shift schedule, and we're concerned about they come off that schedule. Oh, by the way, you're working the next 12 hours, or take a day off. See you in the next day. So yeah, there's concerns with those.
Those call loads, Bill, are going up, as you well know. I mean, we're running well over 30 calls a day now throughout our system. So we're rapidly approaching a year where we're gonna have 12,000 calls. That's where we're heading. That's the next plateau that we'll reach here.
All right.
One thing to point out with that, Bill, that also speaks to rovers is that when we talk about burnout, we have a day that we aren't utilizing our rovers. We put them onto the companies that are getting hit the hardest to help give another set of hands and to help offset some of that. It doesn't stop the amount of calls that company's gonna run, but it gives one more set of hands that can do reports, take care of medicals, do whatever needs to be done.
Next slide,
Yeah, I have one.
or this slide if you're still needing, if you need to finish.
Well, I guess I feel like I've been going for a while now. Sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
We have we have a huge learning curve here, so that's all right. Thank you for indulging us.
So this is the process that the BCs, or I guess our system uses. So we do the vacation bidding that I mentioned at the end of the year. That's kind of how it looks, 3 off or 4 off. We allow either 2 officers or engineers, depending on that number. They'll sign the rovers that they have on the ship to fill those vacancies. Then the BC will make adjustments if they still need to, if there's still more people off, because we've reached that size of organization where we have long-term injuries, people that are off for a while, so they'll make adjustments there. Our software system we call it auto hire, but it'll call anybody that's on the sign-up list if they're qualified.
Does that give preference to seniority?
It does. Yeah, the way it works is it looks for whoever's got the lowest hours with the right qualifications, and if people are equal, it even looks to see if they're hired on the same day, and if they are, then they're given a rank.
Okay.
So it's a great.
But it's not just seniority, it's a balance between hours and seniority
Yes,
okay.
And qualification.
and qualification.
and then if there's nobody there, then the BC will send out a request to fill it, and if nobody voluntarily fills it, then we'll start the mandatory process.
Gotcha.
That's just a view of our daily staffing. So we have 6 engines, there's 3-person staffing on those, tower, or heavy rescue, our squad, and battalion chief. 27 people minimum we have to have here. The rovers does help keep it that way, but we have one particular shift this year that is a ton of people that either have a retired or are retiring, or on long-term injury. So they're below they're actually at their minimum staffing just because of that. That really sums it up. I mean, I do have this. Yeah, so this is a snapshot of our staffing software.
Maybe with this one.
Yeah, it's really hard to see.
I see the packet, I know that, figured I'd walk up and look at your point.
The point we wanted to show is, this is our shift that's getting hammered right now of the lack of staffing that they have, with people going. This is what a normal day would typically look like, you know, we got 3 people off, people are sitting in the correct seats. But just as an example, there's one, at least in this screen, there's actually 2 pages here, but I only gave part of it. There's like 3 people on medical leave in this scenario. There's someone that's on training leave, someone to personal leave, someone's on military leave. We got a couple backfills, which means they voluntarily signed up to fill the shifts, and we got someone that was forced to. So that's how much work our BCs have to put into just their daily staffing, and it's a full-time job just dealing with total staff and people.
If you look at it's called applied leave. That's the planned leave. That's going into this day at January 1. We know those vacancies are gonna be gone. That's vacation. We don't know when military hits us. We got a little bit of warning, but not a mandatory. We don't know when any of the training leaves hit us because that's based on the availability of training, right? And so we don't know the TNW and the TW. That's a trade that happens between the 2 firefighters that cover their seat. So then, because the rovers are already all plugged in, that's when you start to see the backfill is one of them, and then there's a mandatory backfill. That's because all the rovers were exhausted filling all the holes that we had that day, and now they start filling with off-duty people.
We got one slide I just want to go back to.
Yes.
We totally brushed over it.
We brushed it over.
We flew by this one. So the blue is what is budgeted for overtime. And the pink or reddish, whatever color you want to call that, is actual. You want it to look like 2019, 2020, 2021. I can't give you an answer what happened in 22. That was previous administration. Well, so I guess where I'm going with it is the blue, the overtime budget was cut in half. I can't tell you why.
Oh, gotcha.
And we've been trying to fix it ever since. And thank you, because we were able to take even a bigger step for 2026. So that is helpful, but that's why we're asking to get where we're predicting our overtime to be closer to that. Yeah, if we can get it closer to what the previous years look like, that would be great, but we're concerned about it. We're trying to do all those pieces, which is the next slide, Chrissy. We're trying to do all these pieces where we're cutting our overtime. We were requiring for a while, you probably heard the trades for training. We were requiring people to get trades to go to training. We did that for a couple of years. 25, we changed that to, we'll backfill for your training. That was from the troops. That's what they wanted to do. But we were trying, where can we save money?
Can you go back to that previous slide? So this is probably a question for you. Did we have pay increases in 23, 24, and 25? Or did we flatline?
So I wasn't here till the very end, but my understanding.
Yeah, that's some people.
Some,
You did have pay increases?
yeah, always at least some.
Yes. Okay. Because I was thinking, well, maybe when I said, why, how are we here? Maybe that's what it is, because you just literally didn't have the money, and then, you know, maybe there weren't the pay increases, but I guess that's not it.
That's overtime budget only, not into the entire personnel budget.
Well, yes, but if you budget for $400,000 and the actual is $1.3 million, that money has to come from somewhere. And so I was thinking, well, maybe we just flatlined our raises our pay increases during these years when we were like, holy mackerel, we got $1 million in overtime expense that we did not budget. That's why I was just trying to do that, but they always say, don't do math at the dais, right? That's what I get. So, okay, that was my question.
I was trying to look for that next slide if there was other items in there. We really reduced a lot of different things. We used, like, all of our station captains have programs, and we would give them 12 hours a month for their program. We would cut that in half, only get 6 hours. And they can divvy that amongst the people at their station, and that's extra hours. That's beyond their normal shifts. So they need to, do stuff on overtime, so to speak. That's where that time comes from. That's the plan stuff that we try to factor in. We also changed the number of actors. So because of the rovers and because of Station 7 in 2020, that number increased on the shift. And we're like, well, we only used to have or allow 2 acting officers or 2 acting engineers to be working. We changed that to 3. So that helps offset that too. But I would say the last few years, we are just constantly promoting all of our actors because we're filling those seats.
Right. All right. Do you have additional
That's
things?
really it.
Okay.
Chief, thank you so much.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
And I would
I
like.
appreciate
to
the conversation.
Yeah, it really was nice. And thank you for, bringing that whole rover story to life for me, because I didn't fully understand. And it does make a lot of sense that you would put your most experienced person in those positions, because they do have to just fill them, right? Like, and be ready to go. So thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that very much. That was good. And your presentation was excellent. Thank you. Chief Smith. Director Bukowski, did you have any additional questions? We're ready to move on to the next item if not.
No, I did not. Chief Smith, thank you for the historics. That helps a lot trying to understand where we were and where we're going. So thank you very much. Great presentation.
Great, thank you. So thank you for that item. We're going to move on to, let's see, consider motion to approve the creation of the 2026-2028 strategic plan update and extension. Now, you have to leave in 10 minutes. We will have quorum.
Yes.
Just barely. Is this something that you were hoping to vote on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I hope to vote on everything.
Yes, but it wasn't like you don't have a specific waiting here. Okay. Is this a relatively brief or is it pretty in-depth?
No, this is pretty quick.
Okay, that sounds good. We'll try and get your vote on
Madam
it.
Chairman, we are just simply asking for the permission to take our existing strategic plan, which is from 2023 to 2027, and do an extension and an update to this. 3 reasons why, very quickly. Number one, a good portion of the things have been accomplished in here. To the best of my abilities here to look at them, upwards of 70% have been accomplished.
Excellent.
Second thing is, several of those that haven't been accomplished were tied in directly to the tax initiative for the fire department that failed within the city. The third reason, it might be the most important one, is this will buy us some time. We can write an update and extension for the years 2026, 27, and 28. And that would give the new fire chief coming in about 1.5 years to get their feet on the ground and understand what this thing is called the Loveland Fire Rescue Authority. And then in 2028, put a team together and write the future strategic plan that will probably run from 2029 to maybe 2034. So we're just simply asking for the ability to do that, put a small, effective team together and get this done in a very short period of time.
Thank you.
Chief Moravsky, may I ask a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
In that addendum or add-on to the strategic plan, are you going to be factoring in, and city people here that can help me with the Centera sunsetting, that those taxes will be made available? I know they all don't go to the LFRA, but would that be in your consideration financially? Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, to be honest, Director Bukowski. But we will look at some of the additional revenues that we anticipate and try to work with that. We were going to connect with Brian Waldus and talk to him about some of those things as well. So we'll take a look at it. Thank you for bringing that forward.
There, because even though
Perfect.
Centerra,
Thanks, Chief.
yeah, and Director Mikowski, even though Centerra sunsets in 29, I don't think we start recouping until, what we say, 30 or something like
Yeah,
that.
30. I think
Yeah,
they
30
said
is when we
full-
start
like full
seeing
picture,
the
31.
recoup on that, so
Yeah.
that's just for edification. I like the idea, Chief, most strategic plans have a lifespan of about 5 years.
Yes.
This one was set up for a 3.5, 4 year lifespan on it itself, so adding to it gets you there, but then when you start looking at going further from 29 to 34, you get back into the 5 year lifespan.
Yes.
So I have no concerns.
And I like this as well. However, I would ask that you come back halfway or some,
Yes.
partially way through and kind of give us an update on how it's going and what you're considering and all of that so that we can mess everything up for you so you can start over and do all the So we just know where you're at.
We absolutely will provide the monthly updates
Great.
on this.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, and we could be, I don't know how soon are you, it's 2026. I guess you're probably hoping to have it done here in the next few months.
Yes.
So monthly would be
We'll start next week.
excellent. Okay, great. Thank you. Director Lundquist, did you have anything you want to say?
I would move that we approve the creation of the plan update and extension.
Second.
Excellent. All right, Director Bukowski, there's a motion on the floor. Could you hear it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Excellent. All right, without any further discussion, are we ready for roll call? All right, roll call, please.
Senator Sampson?
Yes.
Paul Bukowski?
Yes, ma'am.
Bill Lundquist?
Yes.
Patrick McFall?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. All right, you were on it, Bill. Thank you. All right, so our next and actually final item, unless we have other business for board's consideration or updates on LFRA Board requested action items, is our interim fire chief's report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We will abbreviate this. What I really want to focus in on is just the personnel side of this. When I came on as your interim fire chief, I told you we weren't going to sit still. We would move forward. We move forward with the needed promotions, and we've done that. Assistant Chief Stark is evidence of that, sitting at the end of this table. But all along the way, kind of the dominoes are falling backwards. There are also other promotions, and we've made some of those. Jason, would you be willing to talk about some of those? We promoted a battalion chief, and then talk about that on the way through the rest of those.
Yeah, so obviously I left the vacancy coming into this position. And we didn't have a list, an existing list from a previous testing for battalion chief. This is the perfect day to talk about it because all this takes effect this morning at 7:30 in the morning. All the changes have been made. So, Captain, we had a testing process for BC, the Chief Smith, and I kind of came in at the tail end of it. 4 of our captains tested, they all did well. If we had 4 positions, I feel completely confident we could have plugged all 4 of them into their positions. They're ready for it. However, as with most testing, somebody comes out on top, and that was Captain Adam Bockel. He will take over my position on C shift, and he worked yesterday, he's off today, and he starts tomorrow. So he gets to turn around and start tomorrow. And then we had lists below lieutenant. So the number 1 on our list in for captain's position that was currently a lieutenant was Lieutenant Matt Hinsman. He took Adam's position on engine 5. He starts Monday. Will be his first shift. And then below him, an engineer that was getting ready to be a lieutenant, that was Derek Guard. He started today. He's down here on engine 1. And below him was an engineer or a firefighter that was qualified as engineer and had tested, and that was Joe Willis. And actually, there was 2 because we had engineer vacancy that occurred with Engineer Hill retiring last week. So we promoted Joe Willis to engineer rank and Jake Doyle.
Excellent.
And Joe started today down here, and Jake started. Actually, I have to station 3. Yeah.
Well, please share our collective congratulations to all of them. That's wonderful and job well done. And you built your bench. So
Yeah.
very well done.
Well, we're on the process of building the bench. We haven't seen that.
So speaking of that, we did have a resignation of one of our firefighters this last week. And she's had a pretty significant opportunity to get a position with University of Colorado as their PIO and part of their first responders. So she's gonna be leaving us, but Jason got with our existing list of people and offered a position to come with us. And so we've added another person. We've got 12 in the academy this fall.
Wow, that's excellent. I wish her all the best. That's exciting for her.
And that's the updates here.
All right.
If we do have just a minute or so, I would like to point out one thing that's on the agenda here. I think it's a big deal. If you turn to the back page of your packet, you will see this, what I think is a pretty incredible addition to your packet. And this was developed by one of our great administrative assistants, Christy. And this is a update on board requested action items. So when you all request something, we're keeping track of it, and we'll put it in this schedule here, let you know exactly what we've done with it. I think this will help us be more effective.
I love this.
I know, me too.
And Christy gets all the credit.
Thank you.
Well done, Christy. Thank you.
Way to go, Christy.
Yes, thank you, fantastic. And I don't know, Director Bukowski, if you have your packet with you, but I'm sure maybe we can send out, Christy, would you be able to send out this email to all the board, just so we have it for reference?
I sure can.
Okay, thank you. It's wonderful, thank you.
It's going to be an ongoing thing.
Yes,
Yes.
it'll get updated with each new item, and I was going to take the completed items off the list once they're done.
That works.
That's good.
Excellent.
It's a good thing that it's not,
Can I
Stephen.
can I throw a recommendation out there, Chrissy, on this? Before you remove a completed item, make sure that we've concurred it's completed.
Oh, good idea.
Right, and that was part of the cover sheet for this item is that it's reviewed and that the board concurred with this item.
Yeah, we ran into that over at the city when we had rule of fours and they were being removed off the list. When folks thought they were done, when the person that put it in was like, that didn't really answer all my questions.
Okay, do we want to do a review of the completed items just to make sure that we agree that they're completed?
Yes, if you have a minute, we can glance over them, I think.
And Chief Director, I just want you to know that when I first became mayor, I still push away from the dice, forgetting I'm the mayor. So it's okay, it happens.
Yeah, I think these look excellent.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's all you have for our chief's, interim chief's report. Thank you. It was a great report. Good news all around. We do have additional items, so I should ask you, Chief, do we have any updates on, oh wait, no, just kidding. Chrissy just did that. We already did the updates on the LFRA Board requested action items. We don't need an executive session, which is the next item, our next item thereafter. We don't have to take action on the exec session we didn't have. So other business for board consideration. I don't know who does that. So is that you? Who does that? Do we have our own?
So in the past, that is anything that the board would like to bring to staff's attention, or I believe Director Swanty used to, if he had appreciation to share or something like that, that's what this is for, just reports from any board members that have it.
Okay, any board member reports?
I don't, but I would like to say something real quick, and I think this is extremely important. One, for everybody standing across from us right now, and all y'all out here as well. Special meetings are tough because they pop up. I know they're tough on us, but the fact of the matter is, it takes you all away from the work you need to do and should do day in and day out. So your work doesn't go away. It's still there. You've got to get back and get it done. I think the goal of this board is to try and stay away from special meetings as much as we can so that we can try and make these as regular and consistent as possible. And I think it's one of the reasons why we made the amendment to the MOU so that we didn't have to start holding special meetings every time we needed to do something, that it could fall within those lines. But I want to thank each and every one of you for the time that you've taken being here, not only at this time, but with all the special meetings we had before you showed up at the table, but the rest of them were all here. So that was my piece.
And I mean, I echo it, but also I want to give you, Chief Morosky, some compliment. The tenor, the vibe, the energy, whatever it is in the room has shifted under your leadership and in a good way. So thank you for that. I feel as though staff is much more comfortable speaking with the board. I feel as though the board is much more comfortable speaking with the staff. And I think we're moving in the right direction. So thank you for your leadership in that.
Truthfully, Madam Chairwoman, this is the result of the staff. The staff gets the credit for that, not the fire chief.
Well, they are exemplary, so.
Humbly and well said as a leader.
And I didn't really get to say, so I just will briefly, my true appreciation to, Director Bukowski for filling in his chair after we, lost, Chair Swanty, thank you, I couldn't remember his last name, Jeff. Who I genuinely appreciate as well. I think he had, 17 years of service, and was never really, we just kind of glazed over it, but he really gave a lot of himself to this organization, and I have very, very big shoes to fill that I will never fill those shoes. And same for you, Director Bukowski, your knowledge, your historical understanding and information of the organization is so vital and so important, and has helped us, I think, certainly me, and I think other directors as well, to come up to speed quicker. So thank you for your service, and your continued service as our vice chair. So with that being said, we don't have any other notes.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right, we are adjourned at 1:34 p.m. Thank you all. This
Thank
was a
you.
really good meeting.
Thank you.
It's a great meeting. So, Andrea, are these